After this session, I'm sure you'll have everything you need to start posting and making your first 10, 15 posts on LinkedIn, where to draw ideas from, how to structure your posts, how to capture attention, and how not to chase vanity metrics that people rely upon a lot, like reach, engagement, comments, likes. So we'll discuss all of that. This is our agenda for today, and we'll start with the main question that many people skip while coming to LinkedIn, like why are you there? What are you trying to achieve? Content pillars, I'll talk about what you should be posting about and why it is important, especially now in 2026, after we've seen quite a significant change in the algorithm in the Q4 of last year. I'll give you a very high level overview of how algorithm treats your posts. Like from the moment it goes online, or actually even a few minutes before that, from the moment it goes online, what happens during the first hour, the next hour, and how it evolves over time. We'll discuss the post structure, just in general, 3 or 4 bullets, uh, and a few frameworks that I'm using myself, and I'm going to show some examples of my posts. Tone of voice and why it is important to start writing like yourself. And I'm intentionally not putting any AI automation in this 4 weeks because it's extremely important to capture your own thoughts and the way you like sharing ideas before we go into any automation. It will become much easier after you collect 10, 15 good pieces of content that you can rely on. Then we're going to talk about the weekly system. I'll share what I'm doing myself. I've been doing exactly the same 4 months ago when I've just started consistently working with LinkedIn. I do have the same routine now. It's more automated now, but the principle is the same. We'll discuss feed management and commenting. Also, there is a lot of frustration in the LinkedIn field because people see content that they don't want to see. And in some cases, they don't understand why and what to do with that. So we'll cover that. And there will be some homework before the next session that I'd like you to do, and we'll more and more getting into the kind of day-to-day operation with LinkedIn. As I said, I'll be stopping for a few moments after each section in case you have questions. But quick check, and I know that for the two of you, you've probably already updated your profiles, right, Sergey?
Yes, as much as possible for
Yeah.
last
Okay.
week.
Good. Yeah. And Alexander, I know you
I
definitely did.
haven't no, I haven't updated yet because I'm still have a lot of not a lot of two directions to stay in oil and gas or to come back to kind of consulting,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to manage it. I know that everybody tell me that I have to divide and I have to define on which side I am, but I can be on the both side, inside company and outside the company. So I don't know. For me, it's open question.
Okay. I have an advice that I can share offline. So when you
Great.
think, yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So the reason I'm asking about the profile because why you are on LinkedIn defines what you do on LinkedIn. Like if I would come here and I would be looking for a job, my profile, my posting, and my engagement with people would be 180 degrees opposite from what I'm doing now. If I'm here for my business development or for the professional brand, I need to be engaging with people and writing about things that may be relevant to my customer profile. So I kind of generally describe two groups of people who are on LinkedIn. One group is movers, and this is the majority of people on LinkedIn now, people who are looking for a career change. And it's interesting that amongst movers, you have the lowest percentage of people who are actually posting. So it's mostly observers and they consume content and they see what others are doing. Builders are people who are building visibility in their industry or business. Both are valid, but they have different strategy. So if you're looking for a career change, your content should signal a specific competence and market awareness in the industry. You still need to keep some level of personality there, but uh, you typically focus on what you do best so that people who can hire you understand why they would do this and how you can solve their problems. If you're the builder, if you're building a business, or in our example, someone would want to start their own consulting, then you're looking at the problems of people that you are going to solve. And it's slightly different angle or lens because you're not necessarily sharing your technical expertise or capabilities, but you are more focusing on your lived experience, your cases, and the situations that people are in right now. So, like when I'm sharing the content about the international career development strategies, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of people who are now looking for the next role. I'm not uh, sharing the views or perspectives of me as a project manager or project director. I'm looking on that from the perspective of a person who wants to make a change. What's important for these people? Like they typically concerned about the risks that they're taking with this new change, how this is going to unfold, and essentially they're not necessarily happy or engaged with someone who is already in this new role that they're looking for, but they're looking at this transformation, the cases that they can rely on and they can find themselves into. So that brings us to the main or the core idea that I want to deliver, that your goal is not followers and your goal is not likes. Your goal is to achieve something on the platform, and you need to start with becoming visible to a very limited group of people. I'm saying here 200 to 500 people in your industry. That's actually a lot. Like with my relatively small connection count, relatively small, 3,000 people, I've been counting recently that I have more than 300 project managers in my network. So those are the people that I'm mainly trying to deliver my message to. And delivering the message is not just posting, and it's not just commenting. It's actually engaging with people. It's saying hi when you saw someone visiting your profile, or giving a genuinely useful advice when you saw something in your feed where you can contribute. So don't treat the platform as a commercial exchange from day one. It's still about relationships. And I think the more we get into 2026, the more human touch will be valued. Because probably you've noticed, but there is a large pool of automated accounts now who are essentially, you cannot distinguish whether it's a human who is writing or an AI, but an AI cannot maintain the same level of dialogue in your personal messages and DMs as a human can. So focus on establishing this small pool of people that you can interact with. I'm going to share some example of the goal that I've sort of identified for myself as the midterm goal for my presence on LinkedIn. I want to grow my business, my side business into the 200K per year revenue project. And if I would stop at that level, I wouldn't know what to do. So you actually need to decompose that into the specific actions that you need to take or um, milestones that you need to achieve in order to be in that place. And it does not mean that you need to achieve it day one, month one, or even the first, I don't know, half year that you're working there. But you need to break it down. So for me, and again, the reason I'm sharing that because I want you to understand the logic and the thought process that I had before I was able to get into this consistent 4 months of posting and getting connections that are bringing um clients to me right now and that are helping me uh, do what I like. So at that time, I thought about, okay, if that's my goal, how can I achieve that? Uh, and I broke it down into a few very specific finance related bullets. Like I need to have X number of clients at a specific price point for me to be able to sustain the annual revenue. For me, and this is just an example, yeah, for me that was like I need to have 25 mentorship clients a year on the half a year or annual retainer of 6K. I need to have a few strategy sessions per month, which would be kind of an entry channel to this mentorship. And for me to achieve that, I need to build a pipeline. Like I need to have enough people that I can engage with on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis to get to this goal. So again, what you see here is the target. It's not where I am right now. It's what I'm going for. So knowing my target of 25 clients, I realized that, okay, if this is 25 clients, I can probably attract a few of them per month. That would be 2 to 3 new clients per month. To get to this level, knowing the market, knowing my previous experience working in the kind of different conditions, that would be roughly 15 to 20 discovery calls per month. So people that I would engage with, not necessarily selling my product, but just trying to genuinely be helpful and understand their situation. Because that's where it all starts. And I've been sharing the case of one of my clients who was looking for a role outside her own country, and it took her 9 months to get the offer from the person she has connected to during month one on LinkedIn. And that was mainly due to her maintaining these relationships on a regular basis. So she didn't just forget the person the moment she connected. So focus on getting not just the followers or comments, but also engaging with people. Like for me, the rule is I'm sending a direct message to one new person every day, the person that I don't know yet. I'm not at 100% execution, but even if I hit 60, 70% of that where I am right now, I would have 200, 250 connections per year with the genuine conversations that we've had, and the person would know who I am. And that's the goal. You need to stay, as some people call it, top of mind for someone who may be interested in the services or in, I mean, even if you're looking for the job, it's still sort of a service that someone would be interested in. So your goal might be completely different, but what I'm urging you for is try to have a decomposition of that as well. Like for me, posting 5 times a week is comfortable. I would love to do more, but it's not working out well with the way I'm trying to engage with people. If you can do 2 or 3 times per week, that's great. I would not recommend doing less than 2 posts per week. And I'll explain why. So it's your turn. You don't necessarily need to write this down for me, but try to capture a thought, like the first that is coming to you. Why are you on LinkedIn? Before I go to the content pillars. Any questions, clarifications on the goals?
Yes, one question about how to approach to the people. For example, they are not accept my invitation to connect. But for example, if I write them and it is some kind of conversation, they are still, we continue communicate, but my request is on pending. Is it important or not? So, and should I wait every time if the person accept my request, or I should, I don't know, if I need this necessarily, I will write directly.
Yeah, good question. We can leave this more expanded answer to the Q&A, but it does not really matter whether you have a connection with this person or not. I have a few creators on LinkedIn with 100,000 followers that I'm messaging with, and we are not in contacts. At the same time, it's a bit trickier when a person is not necessarily always present on LinkedIn and is not active. For these people, like there is not much you can do if they're not responding, if they're not accepting the invitation, and there are no content that you can engage with. Yeah. Okay. Moving next to the content pillars. Essentially, it's just the topics or subjects that you're going to be writing on in LinkedIn. And I'll give you an example from my side. So I have three core pillars that I'm using on LinkedIn. One is the international career strategy or international careers. Second is leadership. And the third one is capital mega projects and everything that's around that. So I have these 3 topics that I'm basing all my content around. So if you scroll through my last, I don't know, 15, 20 posts, you would be able to allocate every single one of those to these 3 categories. There is one exception. I'm also sharing my kind of personal growth and development from like my trail running hobby perspective, AI, but those are not the pillars that you should be focusing on. And the reason I've started doing that recently a bit more than before, because I already saw the people from outside of my connections engaging with the content. And we'll get to this in a moment, but for you to establish the kind of a picture of your profile, including the description, your activity, your engagement, your posts, you need to focus on 2 to 3 main topics. So it's not good when you write about marketing, sales, projects, government, politics, and like in that sense, LinkedIn cannot figure out who you are as a content creator, and it cannot find the audience that would be interested in whatever you produce. And that applies not only to your posts, that's what many people miss. If you engage with content, and I actually see this a lot, in comments that is not related to your main subjects, that also plays in how algorithm sees you and who is offered to read your content. So going back to the pillars, we'll get to the algorithm in a moment, but going back to the pillars, what makes a good pillar? A topic that you have real experience in. And I'm going to be repeating this over and over again. The posts that you write should be from your lived experience. That's the one thing that distinguishes your personality, your tone of voice from hundreds of or thousands of posts that like now generated by AI, but in the past were just a Wikipedia type, 5 best ways to attract clients or uh, top 5 companies to work in or 5 best negotiating strategies in tender discussions. In addition to that, you need to have something, you need to have this as a something that you want to be known for. Like if I know a lot about structural calculations, like my background is civil structural engineer. I can write a lot about that. How to design piles, how to build foundations, etc., etc. But that's not something that I want to be known for. So avoid those topics. A brief test. Can you put down 10 topics, 10 themes on the same subject that you can write from your experience? If the answer is yes, then most likely you can keep it going indefinitely. And we'll get to that as well. You don't necessarily need to write every post every week of the year with something new. At some point when you get sufficient amount of content, you can start repurposing, like essentially getting a post and changing the perspective, or combining the two views, and instead of making this as a personal story with the problem and outcome, you make a bulleted list of items that build a framework that people can follow. So like you can switch between the types of posts if you see that this specific content pillar or this specific post is getting enough engagement, or you're getting direct messages, or you're getting invites from others. And people stress a lot about, oh, many people write about that already. Why would I spend my time, or why would someone be engaging with me on that topic? And the only reason why people are engaging with someone on LinkedIn because they want to have this view through others' lenses. Like the way I try to approach my content is, okay, what is something that no one else in project management world has? And this is only my experience. It may not be relevant to people, but from psychological perspective, it's much easier to engage with the genuine story rather than extremely professional but soulless post. So you need to do the work and you need to have an opinion on the subject that you're writing. As an example, for commercial manager in oil and gas, the pillars might be a contract strategy in EPC projects, like how do you engage with contractors in the start of the EPC project. Negotiation lessons from real deals. Like it may start with something like in 2021, I was sitting at the table across from our partners and uh, did not know what to do. I was about to sign the deal that would change our company's future, something like that. Cross-cultural project teams, that's kind of a different lens. You have international experience. You can share how this interface and relationships are unfolding. And personal career reflections, that's something that everyone can do. everyone is interested in how you got to where you are right now and what you're moving forward to. Just going back through your past 10, 15 years of experience and saying, okay, 10 years ago, I did not expect to be where I am right now. And then you're just sharing the story, why, what happened, and what others can take from that. I'm saying here that like you can have 3 professional pillars, 1 personal. In fact, just try to not deviate a lot from those and keep track of how many posts per pillar you are producing on a monthly basis. You don't need to do this on a weekly basis, but just at the scale of the months. It is good when you write about 2 pillars or 3. It is not as engaging where you keep drilling the same topic. There are people on LinkedIn who are only writing about, I don't know, procurement strategies in Middle East. I have a contact of mine who is very focused on that topic, and every single post is a variation around this subject. And yeah, it demonstrates your expertise, it shows credibility, but it does not show your personality. A person is essentially repeating the PMI guidebook with the FIDIC structure of the contracts and some well-known recommendations on how to do procurement. It might be interested for someone who is just starting, but for his peers, for his managers, for potential partners, there is nothing that they can engage with. Like there is no person you can talk to. It's just a pure theory or text. A benefit of the group is even though we don't have that many people, but you are all from the same industry, but from different functions. So when the posts are coming out from an experienced business development person, it can easily be commented by a project management or engineering management person, and the other way around. So you can actually comment on each other's posts with some genuine perspective. So use the group, use the support, and share whatever you're posting. And it's also quite important from the kind of timeline perspective to find your own rhythm when you are able to publish posts and stay online for at least like 20, 25 minutes. So we'll talk about this a bit more, but my recommendation is typically you go to LinkedIn, you engage with someone, you publish a post, and you stay online for a while. Just in case someone would comment your post, will send you a DM, or somehow engage with your content. That's quite important from the algorithm perspective. You won't probably see this playing out in the first 4 to 6 weeks, but the more content you produce, the more people engage, the more beneficial it is to stay present. I'm gonna go through yeah, Alexandra.
Yes, I would like to ask about this combination of professional and personal posts. And I see a lot of your posts, as you said, about this training. And I also have my favorite hobby. And I don't know, for example, my idea is to write about 2 posts is like technical, no, not technical, financial, and some industry problem. And for example, the 3rd post per week is something about dancing and partnership. But I'm afraid that, for example, it can dilute the attention to my profile. Okay, if I will posting with my beautiful picture, for sure I will have a lot of likes. But I'm not sure how it will look like from the employer's point of view.
I wouldn't be much worried about that, with probably the exception of the specific regions where they.
We've already closed this
Yes.
region.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then I wouldn't be worried about that. My only recommendation here would be not to try to bring, at least not all the time, to bring those personal posts somehow in the footprint of your technical expertise. Like if it does not have a place in the business development or in leadership or in building relationships, don't try to artificially tie it to these topics. You'd rather kind of express what you really want to sort of write about, what it is for you in your life, rather than trying to say, oh, I've done this competition, I've been preparing a lot, and you know what? That's also similar to what blah blah blah. Sometimes it makes sense, like it feels natural. But I've also seen people who are every time trying to map whatever is happening in their personal lives to their career goals, to their business, and sometimes it doesn't look natural. It's obvious that a person is trying to, again, bring this to the same content pillars.
So it can be like, I don't know, one post per month, something like this, but not so much.
Depending on how often you post, but if you're planning to stick to like 2 posts per week, probably once every 2 weeks would be good. Yeah. And from my experience, doing this over weekend brings better engagement and reach and even conversations. I think many people who are sort of in the corporate world, uh, they turn the switch on Friday night and they have a slightly different perspective over weekend. Sergey, any questions from you?
No, no.
Okay. So moving on how LinkedIn decides who sees your posts. This is a 4-stage post lifecycle. This is what I was referring to. So the reason I recommend engaging with others before you post, it sends a signal to LinkedIn that you are active, you are there, and it helps with the distribution. Also, it helps when you comment something, and commenting is a separate story. We'll probably cover this later. But when someone clicks and goes to your profile, that also sends a message to the algorithm that people are interested, people are engaged, and they uh, may want to see the piece of content that you're sending. So stage one, once you click the button post, it's a spam filter. Like, is this like a real content? And that's typically first 3 to 5 minutes. And that's maybe 3 to 5 to 10 minutes where it is shown to like a really small audience. And it's not really clear how they're doing this, but sometimes if you don't pass this filter test, you will get zero engagement. Well, zero. Like for my post, my average impressions are somewhere around 1,000 to 1,500. The posts that don't go through or don't pass the spam filter, they typically sit at 70 impressions. So like 70 people viewed the post. Extremely low. After that, if you've passed the spam filter, it's a small audience test. So your post is getting shown to your connections or to your followers. And that's where it gets interesting, and that's why it's important to have someone that you are connected with and who can engage with your content, because the next, let's say, 15 to 20 minutes decide whether people are engaging and it's worth distributing this forward, or the post will flatten out and you'll probably get a few people in the connections see this, but it will not go to your second degree and third degree connections. What you can do here, well, one, keep engaging with the contents of others. You can also message other people, but in principle, I just do nothing. And if someone leave a comment on my post, I just reply. Or if someone reacted to my post, I go to their profile, and just going to their profile, clicking on that, scrolling through the page also sends a signal, because whenever you're visiting a profile of other person, they would get a notification that you've visited their profile, and they can go to you, and that kind of starts the circle. Then stage three, and that typically happens anywhere between the first 45 minutes to 90 minutes, is where algorithm checks the engagement. And I don't have any specific numbers here, but at my level, like if I would get anywhere from 10 to 15 comments by that time, the post will go to the wider distribution. In addition to that, what's also important is if people are saving your post or reposting this or sending this to someone in private messages. So if this engagement check is passed, you will see people not from your connections getting to your page and reacting to your post and sometimes commenting. So my probably one of the best distributions that I've seen, strangely enough, was about Sochi Olympics. I did a very kind of dry and technical analysis of the cost estimate. That was not really my best piece of content, but somehow it got distributed to a very wide audience, and I got close to 30 to 35,000 impressions over 2 days. And it went like to the people I wouldn't imagine otherwise would see this. And that's actually how I got uh, quite a large audience in Australia, because it got distributed to one of the contract managers in Australia who was posting something, he reacted, and then there was a recruiter and other project manager. So now I have kind of this cell of people from Australia that I'm engaging with, and they're engaging with my content. So I'm I'm telling you to expect that your first posts will only be seen by connections. So don't expect this to go beyond stage two. And the reason for that, I'm going to describe in the next section. So yeah, right here, interest graph. So the way how the current algorithm works, it's called 360 brew, is that LinkedIn shows the content based on topical relevance, not just connections. So like a year ago, the way you would see posts distributing is you go to a small amount of people in your connections and followers, then to a larger group, then to a larger group. And after it goes through this first 2 or 3 steps within your connection circle, that would go outside. And that's what people would call viral posts. At the moment, the algorithm has changed completely. Like my feed is 70 to 80% are posts from people I'm not connected to. And that's because of this topical relevance. So essentially, you are being shown what you're interested in, and how LinkedIn understands your interest based on your profile. like your industry, what you have in your headline about experience, which companies you've been working with, the content you engage with, like who do you react on, who do you comment, which pages you visit, that also counts, and obviously your posts. And the same work the other way. So if I'm posting on project delivery, leadership, and careers, my posts, if they go beyond stage 2, will be distributed to the people who are interested in that. So if you consistently write about the same topic, for example, project delivery, LinkedIn will start showing you the people who are interested in that topic and not necessarily just your connections. For me, it took close to 3 months until I started seeing a consistent views and visits to my page from people not from my connections, and the followers starting kind of joining 1, 2 people every day after I post. What matters here is consistency. So it's much better to do consistent 2 posts per week than do 5 1 week and don't post anything at all the next. Comments, they carry much more weight than likes. So if someone is actually engaging with your post, putting comments, asking questions, that's great. Dwell time, what it is like how much time someone spent reading your post. Essentially, how much time they've been scrolling or they've been engaging with your content. And for dwell time, there is sort of a hack that you've probably seen this a lot, the carousels, the PDF files that you can go through in LinkedIn. They're very good for dwell time because it's very quick to read the post, but if you're reading a 15-page carousel, you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I don't recommend focusing on that now. Like that's something that you can add to the types of posts you generate. Maybe you do it once during this first 4 weeks, but this adds complexity. You need to think how to structure this, what information may be relevant. Just keep this in mind, but I would not recommend doing this now. And as I said,
And what about, I saw a lot of posts when someone, for example, take the AI report or AI arena and how to say, download this PDF, and I think also download this PDF to ChatGPT. ChatGPT do some kind of analysis. They put this analysis to this post, attach PDF. That's it. Post is done.
yeah,
But for me, it's absolutely artificial.
Yeah, and I think the problem that it's not just artificial, but in most cases, this is a complete crap. Like people are posting something that they have not properly checked, and they like there is no meat in that. You just put something to a regular ChatGPT chat. You've asked it to produce 7 pages of PDF, and it hurts your credibility. Like, yes, it increases the metrics, but again, going back to the goal, our goal is connections with people. You need just one person who is interested in what you're doing and not 500 who are clicking likes. So I would really avoid low quality content on LinkedIn. That will be a differentiator very soon. Um, Yeah, I think as I mentioned, for me and for many others, I've been talking about like the creators who've been just starting. For the first 2 to 3 months, most likely you will not see a very clear signal that it is working. Like I'm telling you, and that's what was happening to me. You're posting, you're getting the like from some of your close friends or relatives. In my case, that was my wife, and then the post just dies. But if you do this over and over again, week after week, you'll start seeing results. Because first, algorithm learns. Second, you start engaging with people. I'm emphasizing this a lot. Just start messaging people that you may not really think that they can help you right now with something, but they may be valuable. Our 4 weeks will be enough for you to build the discipline, and I'll help you with the routines, and I'll help you optimize the ways of working, and I'll be also engaging with what you do. But it's important kind of to keep going. So select the rhythm that you can feasibly maintain. That's why I'm saying don't aim for like 5 posts per week. More posting doesn't mean more result. Not in this particular case. Now to the meat of the topic: how to write a post. So we do have 3 core sections of every post: hook, body, and ending, where hook is something that you see before you click see more. This is essentially a subject line or subject line and one extra line that you see before you decide to read the full piece. And this is where kind of marketing helps. This is where you need to learn a bit about how to write engaging hooks. And that's where AI can help as well. My general recommendation is not to start writing with the hook. Write the full piece and then you decide what you put as a title. I'm also going to show you now 3 frameworks that I'm using, and that's basically all you need to start writing. You don't need like 15 different templates that you won't know what to do with. We're going to start with kind of simple, straightforward, repeatable approaches. So hook is the first 1 to 2 lines. And you can see in my case, I'm using the same approach of kind of having the first line, then empty space, and then the next line. Some people are quite successful with just writing the first full paragraph. So LinkedIn typically would show the first 3 lines, 1, 2, and 3. So if you can fit a good, engaging, or at least curiosity-driven piece of content in the beginning, you can do that, and you can trial and error. Why hook is important? If it's not engaging, people will just scroll past. So you need to deliver the message of what's inside your post in the first few lines, or at least trigger the interest. A few examples here, like the one that I didn't post it here, but I really liked like this tension. The bar for good leadership is embarrassingly low, and then I had a rehook, and you would kind of you would question yourself like why someone with who is writing about leadership would say that the bar is embarrassingly low, what it is about. Here you can see mostly text titles. If you can write something like in 2014, I've been earning $150 per month. Fast forward 10 years, here I am. And like that invites people to read what was the transformation of the story. Numbers matter here the same as they matter in kind of your CVs or in your LinkedIn profiles. So if you can put some numbers, if you can play around that, that would be also good. And we'll get to that in a moment as well. So the first framework is called SLA: story, lesson, and application. Try telling a short story from your work, life, business, whatever it might be, extract a very specific lesson. So you don't want to extract three different ideas. Focus just on one. Because the longer you post, the more difficult you post, the less engagement you're gonna get on average. And the harder it is for people to read. Even the ones who have great focus, they cannot read very long pieces of information, not on LinkedIn. And then in the end, once you extracted the lesson, show how it applies more broadly. So in my case, like I would say, my story is that 4 months ago, didn't have any consistent way of interacting with LinkedIn. Uh, I was trying to get on with motivation, but it just didn't work sometimes. And then my lesson was that like these three components that gave me confidence and simplified my routine: goal, weekly review, and in the end, it didn't fit here. Like you can start with this one thing, like just block 1 hour of your time every week to do retro. Uh, Most of your posts can fit into this framework. Just try to check if you have all the components, because story is the part that is triggering curiosity from people. Lesson is kind of an extraction, a digestion of the story. And the application is how it can be useful to others. So in the application part, it should somehow teach others what to do. But again, teaching here is not a theory lesson, it's something that you lived through and that you have applied that might be useful. Another framework called PASS, problem, agitate, and solution. So you start with the problem statement. Uh, in my case, like I've been there in 2019, wanted to make a career move. Agitate, just keep going on the same problem, like what you've been doing or what was happening that made it even worse. I've been reading every best practice, studied every framework, um, I've built perfect strategy, and then blah, 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 blah. Fast forward to 2023, I've implemented a different approach. This is also part of the story, and then solution. Like, this is what I would tell myself back in 2018. Pick one thing you can start doing today, choose one resource that can actually help, and then in the end, I'm just summarizing that this is what you need to do. You don't need to have 20 different pieces of something. You need to have just one that you can consistently run with. So this is the framework that you can use when you want to teach something or share a professional opinion. And again, I said I don't recommend using AI from the beginning. But with this framework, what you can do is you can essentially embed this, whether you're using ChatGPT or Claude, in your projects to say, I want to write posts using these frameworks. I'm going to be sending you drafts. I don't want you to rewrite them. I don't want you to add any context, but I want you to check this if if this fits in any of these frameworks and highlight to me what is missing. So in that case, it's more of a thinking partner rather than someone who can steal your voice. So you would still write the post yourself, but you will have someone who can do this checking. And the last framework, the simplest one, is the listicle. So essentially, you are building a list of something. Again, it can be along the lines of like in 2019, I had no clue about project management in uh, data centers. Now in 2026, these are the 5 things that I've learned. Or Um, I've reviewed thousands of CVs in the past 5 years. These are the top 7 common mistakes that I see every time. So it should be numbered, it should be scannable and very easy to say, right, easy to read. So when you have multiple points, you don't necessarily need to have a long narrative. Try to avoid putting long text in the bullets, maximum 2 lines, maybe in some cases 3, so that people can really screen or scan through the post. Each post should end with something, and I always recommend adding either a question or a statement. So both of these will invite comments that may feel a bit artificial. So try to see uh, what would you really ask your friend. So you wrote a post and you're reaching to someone who you know and you want to get their feedback. What question you would ask? Because sometimes, uh, even when I started doing this, my questions were like extremely strange to people. Like I would reread this a week from the time I posted, and I would not reply to my own post. uh, so, and don't just stand with like follow me or like for more content, hit reaction or subscribe. You can do this later on. Bigger creators do this because their posts are being reposted, so they're adding this CTA intentionally. But in our case, you need to do something that will invite people to take an action. That's very similar to kind of how you engage in private messages. Make it easier or easy for people to engage. Sometimes if you're posting the listicle, the list of things, you may ask, okay, which one you prefer, or which of those you've been using yourself, or what would you add to the list? The last but not the least, formatting. Mobile first approach is not really kind of a silver bullet, but it really improves readability. So try to mix long and short sentences. Um, there is a formatting principle of Jasmine Alic, who is one of kind of the biggest creators in LinkedIn. He he likes to do like 1-3-3-1, where there is one line, 3 lines, 3 lines, one line, and then you repeat it. It makes it gives some breathing space. It does not read like a wall of text, so it's easy to scan through. And again, for this, you can also just, it does not need to be, don't overthink. Like if you have a very long paragraph of 6 to 7 lines, just find the dot in the middle and put the start of the sentence to next line. People would still read the full piece. Uh, Tone of voice, again, the most important long-term asset, and not just because like I said that or people would engage. If you are here for a long period of time, um, having in the beginning your own tone of voice in posts will help you with automation later on. So, and that's something that I'm going to show probably towards the end of the program. Uh, but for you to be able to use AI efficiently and have it as your real partner, you need to have data. It cannot help you if it does not have this raw data of your own thing, your stories, your experience, the way you write. So if everyone sounds the same, which is pretty much the case in LinkedIn now, where you scroll through the feed, sometimes you would see exactly the same hooks, questions, body, how people say, like nobody would stand out. Why would I read someone in that case? Content creation will stay hard for, I say here, forever. In reality, like it's changing quite quickly, and we see how you can actually give your tone of voice to someone or to an AI, but you still need to define that. And the best way to do this is to have your 10, 15 golden posts that you can use as a reference. So it's okay to take the structure from others. Like if you have, and that's going to be part of the homework, if you have someone that you like reading, and this person may not be necessarily from your industry or from your niche, you just enjoy the way they write, you can actually take the structure from them, take the formatting. But again, use that with your story and your lesson. AI is good for brainstorming, getting data, grammar, getting unstuck, but the words should still be yours until you realize that kind of you are in the right place. Now, the weekly system that I use for content production, I do batch posts during the weekend, and I just post and comment during the week. What I would highly recommend doing is creating your idea bank. Essentially, it can be your notes app on the phone. It can be a separate Telegram channel, the closed one that is open only to you. A place that is easily accessible for your thoughts, where when you get an idea, maybe a headline, you can immediately write it down. You don't need to convert this to the post. If you'd like to draft something, that's great. But what helped me tremendously is instead of waiting for this sacred 2 hours on Saturday to sit down and show my full creativity and just sitting there and I don't know what I'm going to write about. I started taking notes in the kind of physical notebook during the day through the whole week. And then my Saturday routine became just going through the notes. Then later on, I switched to the kind of phone notes. Just going through the notes, finding what I like to post about, and expanding this idea. So Idea Bank is an extremely useful tool. So on Saturday, typically, or you can do it whatever day you prefer. It can be a weekday as well. I block now 1 hour. I open my idea bank and I pick, in my case, 5 ideas that I'd like to write about. What has also helped me is my comments, the comments that I leave to others' posts. And that's why, like, you need to treat this as investment. So try to add something that is valuable, that is helpful, and that you can probably later on expand to a full post. Right now I have, I don't know, 20, 30 comments that I have not touched yet, but I know for sure I can get a good post out of them. So again, Saturday, 1 hour, I open my idea bank and I start just one by one. And well, actually, what I do now is I plan my week. I'm trying to connect what I write throughout the week. At some point, you may do this as well, but it does not really matter when you just start. So you pick an idea, you draft a post. In some cases, in the past, I've been drafting this to like 80, 90% readiness, not necessarily the full completion, because this final bits were taking me too long. And what I realized was helpful is just draft the main part and then sleep with this. And the next day, you can just finish, write the hook, provide the call to action, and that's it. So by the end of that session, your goal should be that you need to have the content for full week. And in your case, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 posts, doesn't matter. But try to avoid going into the week with no posts because that creates anxiety. You think that, oh, I need to do something and I don't have it. In some cases, you can even, I don't know, batch for a couple of weeks if you'd like. At some point, I was, and that was before these 4 months, I've been trying to create posts as I would go throughout the week because I thought, well, I experience things a lot and I may have some actual ideas coming to mind that I would see. Yeah, that worked. But then on Tuesday, you have a long meeting. On Wednesday, you have a training. Thursday, your kid is sick. And by Friday, you have just one post that you've done on Monday, and that's it. So batching really helps. Yeah, that's exactly what I wrote here. So motivation is kind of unreliable. So for doing these batches, you need to only be creative once a week when you're well rested and when you have allocated the time. This is an example of how you can build your daily routine. So during the days, you can spend 5-10 comments on the signal beacons, and I'll describe what it is. You do the post and you reply to comments. During the days when you don't post, instead of doing that, find one person and send them a message. So if you have 5 days and you post twice, 3 other days, just send someone a message. So over 4 weeks period, you should have at least 12 people that you can message. For me, when I started, it took me roughly 4 hours. Now I'm still at 4 hours total, but I'm commenting much more. Like I'm doing roughly 100 to 150 comments per week. But on the posts, I'm spending probably half an hour during the weekend to do my 5 posts for the week. Just because my idea bank is always full, and sometimes I even have expanded drafts. And finally, I would be asking you on Sunday to put Sunday or Monday morning, put your weekly report in our group. I'll share the format. It's quite easy, but we will track some metrics. In addition to metrics, we will also track your personal reflections, like what happened during the week, what you're planning to take in the next. I'm doing this myself for the past 15 weeks, and I find this really helpful to go back sometimes and just read where I've been on week 3. And it's just, yeah, you think that you didn't move anywhere, but when you read what you've written in week 3, you realize how far you've gone over the past period. One of the last topics for today is feed management and commenting. You need to be able to curate your feed. So LinkedIn shows you content again based on what you engage with. What I highly recommend doing, if you like the piece of content, at least put a reaction, like it. Best case scenario, comment. If you don't like the piece of content, you can click the 3 dots and you can hide. Whatever you hide, the algorithm also learn from that. So next time you will be getting less posts on this subject or from similar people. So that's how I've trained my feed. Now I'm mostly getting content on career, project delivery, and AI. I'm not getting, I've actually excluded all the kind of Russian speaking or posts in Russian for the reason of like I still feel it a bit awkward when people are commenting in English on Russian posts, and I don't like to do that myself. So And because of that, naturally, I cannot engage with this content. So I removed completely by teaching the algorithm the Russian posts from my feed. Um, yeah, and it took me roughly 1 to 2 weeks until I got to the point where I really like what I have. And the quality audit would be try to scroll through your feed now. If you like what you see 7 out of 10 times, then you're in a good place. If this is less, just keep doing that. Keep hiding the content that you don't like and engaging with the one that you like. And how you can do this even more efficiently, I call them signal beacons, is your commenting system. You need to identify 5 to 10, ideally 10 creators in your industry or space. Also, ideally with the geography that is close to you. So you probably would not want to have a person who is now in United States or in the very far east, just because of the time zone difference. Uh, you need to find people who post regularly. They have an audience, ideally not a super big audience, and they write about topics that are relevant to you where you can comment. Before I moved to kind of more automated approach, but I had roughly 20, 25 creators just in the notes. So what I've been doing is I had a notes page in my phone with the links of individual creators. And what I would do every day, I would click them just one by one. That would bring me to their page. I would go to the last post. I read it. I see what I can comment on. I do the comment and then go to the next one. So you're not kind of scrolling in your LinkedIn trying to find where they are in connections. You have direct links to people and you can click to their post. Uh, and that's actually how I got to talk to some people. Uh, they just observed me in comments and they sent me a DM and we got on a call. And yeah, so 5 comments per day. That's kind of a minimum that I would recommend. And if you do this during the same time as you are posting, try to do comments before you post so that you sort of warm up the algorithm. Uh, Good comment versus bad comment. I don't have a bad example here, but they just written great post, so true. Thank you for sharing. They're not impacting the algorithm, they're not adding any value. What essentially in some cases, what I write in comments, I can just copy paste and put as a post. You don't need to go to that level of details, but try to at least write, I know, a paragraph, a couple of lines of your own approach or how you view this specific topic. A good idea would be to reference something from the post. What I do is one of the creators, I just find something that I really like in his post, and there is always something. Like that's the reason why I like this specific guy. And I just take it in brackets, like a quote, and I put it as beginning of my comment. And then I would provide my thoughts about this specific quote that I've commented. You can ask follow-up questions. For me, it's not working really well. I like to share something more than ask. But when you ask, there are more chances that people would respond. Uh, what's next? Today was the only theory session. Doesn't mean that I won't answer your questions that if you have on the algorithm or anything else, you are free to drop them in the chat or ask me once we are done here. But from next week, please bring your kind of bigger questions, drafts, examples, problems to these sessions. Today it took us a bit longer. Next week, I'm trying to bound this to 60 minutes so that we don't spend much time here. I do prefer more like async communication so that you don't wait for Thursday to ask me questions. You can drop them in the chat. The more specific your questions are, the more value you get, obviously. I have some sort of this concept of office hours when I'm there and I'm responding 100%. It's going to be Tuesday and Thursday from 10 to 11. It does not mean that you need to ask me questions during this time. It means that within these two time slots, I will 100% clear out all the questions that we had. I may, and most likely I will respond earlier, but just so that you know, if I don't respond on Monday or on Friday, you can expect that by Tuesday, your question will be answered. Please tag my name when you ask a specific question so that I can go through the tags and I can respond. Few pieces of homework before the next session. Define your goal. You can share in the group. You can keep it to yourself. I find it good for accountability purposes. If you share your goal, then you kind of feel more engaged. Define your posting cadence. That's what I also recommend you doing. Not just how many posts you do per week, but also try to secure a specific time. If you post at the same time within this kind of days, that also helps first algorithm, and second, the people who read, they know that, okay, Sergey is posting every Wednesday and Friday at 9 a.m. Moscow time. That's where I should expect a post from him. It's not gonna come in the first months, so it's not a purpose of the first months. But if you stay consistent, you can also see that people are showing up at the time you post and they start commenting. In some cases, and this would be my recommendation for the intro post later on, explicitly say that I'm posting on this time these days. Start your idea bank. So you can bring 5 ideas to next session that we can brainstorm. We can discuss whether they fit the narrative, whether they fit your pillars. I also recommend publishing an intro post. It does not necessarily should be a post about you looking for extra opportunities. You can just introduce yourself, why you're here, and what you're going to be sharing. Typically, those posts, they yield relatively high engagement, similar to the ones where kind of you announce that you found a new job or you are ending this career chapter. I can share a template with you, but I also recommend you adding kind of more, again, personality from your side. And finally, number 5, this is super important. If you don't do that, it will be extremely difficult for you, or let me rephrase it. It was extremely difficult for me to stay consistent in LinkedIn until I identified the people that I can engage with. And my recommendation, since we are in the group and we are more or less in the same industry, if you find 10 people and someone else would find 10 people and you share, you have 20 people now that you can select from. And I'll also share with you the ones that I'm following that may be relevant for you from my list. Yeah, feed audit, that's what we've discussed. And the bonus session, it's only 2 of you here, but I'll follow up with Marat and Darren. If 80% of you hit your posting goals by the end of week 4, so essentially 8 plus posts, I'll run a dedicated bonus session on my full AI workflow. But again, first, you just need to get going. Putting AI on a messy foundation will give you a messy building that will not be consistent. Yeah, I'm I'm there for you to start. Please, I highly encourage you to send the links to your posts once you post them. I also recommend in the group doing the introduction with when you're planning to do the posting, so that, I mean, the group and I also aware when to expect this. And in cases when I'm there, I can jump, leave my comment, leave a reaction, and that may help. That's pretty much it from me from the content perspective. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and I'm happy to talk through questions, if any.
Yes, I have a few questions. First of all, in the at the beginning, I would like you to ask to check, I don't know about others, but to check my posts for sure. Because, how to say, to be honest, I'm really scared. Because before this, I was very polite and very accurate, let's say, commenter and post blogger.
Mhm.
And now I'm going to absolutely new area, and I want to be varied or create some ridiculous. So I need, as a minimum, during this period, I would like to get your feedback. Is it okay or not? Can we arrange it or?
We can, but you will have to define what does okay means. Like I can review the post, but when you say is it okay or not, it's mainly your perception that kind of I need to help you overcome. So if you can give me some kind of swim lanes or guidelines of like what do you want to avoid, what you are concerned about while posting this. Because if you just send me the post and ask whether it's okay or not, most likely I will say it's okay.
Mhm.
Like I've seen extremely crazy posts on LinkedIn that are working well. And the one thing that I it's hard to communicate like in a message. You just need to go through that. The more natural, the more genuine you are there, the better is the feedback from the audience. Like if you are trying to have it's all nice and beautiful and perfect, that's not what people are interested in. That's not how people are engaging with you. They want to see what you think. And I think that's also important from the connection perspective because if you are working for people who will engage with the content that is perfect and a bit superficial, but then in reality that's not who you are, it's going to be difficult for you to engage with those people because they have one expectation, but in reality you're not that person. So short answer, yes, I'm 100% happy to review the posts.
Mhm.
But if you want to get specific outcome, you need to help me there.
Okay, yes. In general, so I would like to agree there with you, the how to say, my new, let's say, brand, how I would like to look for audience, and
Mhm.
of course we will share my goals, and is it my goals and my ideas how to develop my professional brand suits, and
Yes, yeah, yeah. If there
and
is a match.
how to, yes, and how to create my tone of voice, because yes, as a person I have something, but I know, of course, that I shouldn't create a LinkedIn profile as Instagram profile.
Yes,
But somehow I should show in LinkedIn something personal.
yeah, yeah. In that case, what I like doing is going to my Telegram channel to the posts that I've written when I've just started. It's it's sort of embarrassing the way I wrote posts at that time. But at the same time, those were the steps, like the first steps that brought me where I am right now. So it's, I understand what you say, son. No worries. I'll be there. But you cannot skip this learning curve. Like you cannot get to this place immediately. So you'll have to go through that. Yeah.
Yeah, but how to say, not to be ridiculous that after my, I don't know, rearrange my personality, nobody wants to connect with me. And I don't know, all big companies said, no, 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 this
Yeah.
lady
Yeah.
is
That's
kind
clear.
of freak.
Yeah. That's actually a good point because what you should be careful about, and that's more about comments because that's where people don't realize that that's also part of your profile. That's part of what others see, clients, companies. I see people on LinkedIn engaging a lot on the topics where kind of it's intentional that others are inviting you to debate, and especially that's related to politics. And this is a bit of a shaky ground. Like, if you are building a brand or if you are trying to get into your next role, that's probably going to be my only recommendation. Try to avoid uh, questionable topics to debate on, at least in the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yes, I have to remember. I had some. Maybe Sergey has some
No, no,
question.
there
No.
are a lot of new information. It is clear that it should be big work ahead. I mean, I realized that I have to do a lot of things, not only post something. But posting it is the main, maybe not main, one of the main things.
Yeah, the post looks more complicated than other things, but just posting, I mean, you can still do just posting. Don't get me wrong, but it will
Yes.
just take you much longer to get the audience and to get to the result that you want.
Yes, in the beginning, as many of people, I believe I was thinking that main reason why I joined to LinkedIn is to find new job, new good position.
Yeah.
But now I realize that I can share my interesting experience with someone. Maybe in the end of this course, I will change my goal why LinkedIn is needed me.
Yeah, and to be fair, the way how our industry develops, I think I'm saying now in 3 to 5 years. In reality, it may be even in 1 to 3 years. I do expect almost every expert with the background and experience to be running some sort of side project or consultancy on something that they're real expert in. Because things that AI now allows you to do is just mind blowing. I've I'll share this towards the end of the course. It's still in works, but what used to take me like 4 weeks or 4 sessions with a person to get to the level of kind of strategy that a person would need in the specific region for the specific role to map the companies, to understand the market, now takes me a couple of hours. And I mean, and I'm not illusional about that. If I was able to do that, to come to that in 4 weeks, even though I had some background in the past, I'm expecting that in next 6 to 12 months, people would be getting to this level in whatever they do. So I think just knowing how to learn this and how to use this and building an audience will be a tremendous asset. Like having someone you can talk to and who can engage with what you do is going to be super important. That's why I think, yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is still the main channel to find international roles, but at the same time, it's probably the best channel for people from our industry to build an audience or partnerships around your potential future very niche consultancy.
But I remember we, I don't know, some times ago we spoke with you about this type of project, even when I asked you, should I add to LinkedIn, for example, link to my website where I try to develop my consulting business. And you said that no, you shouldn't spread the attention, you shouldn't.
Yeah, if your goal to find a job, I'm still recommending that. Like if I would be looking for a role now, I would scrape away all my international career advisory links to the websites. I would completely repackage my LinkedIn, even though it would take me a while because I'm posting a lot about career. So I'm kind of cornering myself to more individual consultancy roles. But yeah, I mean, if there is still a mindset shift that should happen in corporate world that having people running their own businesses, small businesses, is sometimes actually helpful because they bring the knowledge that they get over there to the organization and they can implement things faster. And I don't think that has happened, not in the market and the companies and the people I'm working with. We still believe that if you are full-time job employed, you need to be doing only that and nothing else.
Mhm. And yes, maybe my last question. We start that my positioning about industry because it also will influence on this kind of my post if it is more finance or I don't know, oil and gas, energy transitions, renewables, something like this. So what is your suggestion for that?
Uh, where do you have the 10 posts that you can write from your lived experience?
Mm, Usually I tried to base my post on the current projects. So when I worked in oil and gas and was involved in CCS and hydrogen, I posted on these. With my individual project, I was involved in solar PV plus BESS and fundraising. So I posted about this. So it's kind of mixture BD in energy transition or fundraising in renewables. So it's not clear.
I would suggest because again we are not locking in this completely. For me, renewables, oil and gas, it's still the same footprint. From the content positioning perspective, it's still energy, it's still sort of projects. So we're not talking about the completely different exercise when, I don't know, it's FMCG. I mean, even FMCG projects, I would still consider them projects. I would start where you can, again, consistently do 10 posts on the same direction from your past cases. So it shouldn't be just, uh, I know from my experience, it's very important to consider these five things, and then you just describe the theory. You need to be able to give a bit more context. Like 7 years ago, I've been developing the first of a kind CCS project, and we've been running into the financial issues.
Mhm.
Uh, And then you can like either describe how you was able to get out of that, or what steps did you take, and then how it can be helpful to others. But try to anchor the stories into this experience. And maybe what you can do is actually to write down what references you are able to do and you kind of still remember. Because my problem now is I wished I've started this like 10 years ago, because there are many things that I've done, but I don't remember the details. Like it's it's a bit blurry now. I know the footprint, I know the context, but I cannot get to the right level of details so that it's really engaging. It's very interesting.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Let's try.
What you can do is, if you do this 10 topics, you can just send the list of these 10 topics and we can take a look how they map together.
Okay. Okay. I understand. Yes, it's better to, how to say, now I realized that strategy is a great idea, but like in this story about mouses, owl and hedgehog. What should you do? Became hedgehog. How? I'm not operational person. I'm a strategist.
Yeah.
So now I would like to approach from tactical steps, not from big goal. Yes, it's okay. I would like to have position. I know the name of the companies, and it's still my goals. But it's not so easy to approach to these companies, and these cold direct messages doesn't work for these big guys. And yes, I have to do something to be visible for these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, let's start with that. I'll take a look, and again, don't overthink. Just
do something.
yeah, just let it start. No, really, that's how I started.
Yeah, I understand.
So, and
And
Sergey, for you as well, like, don't be overwhelmed with the amount of information. Like, I think what would be important for you, I've read your post, you've got the right kind of mindset in how you do this. Just think of other similar examples that you can share and what you want to be known for. That's where I would start.
Honestly speaking, sorry for interruption. Honestly speaking, I already have bank and I have about 10 ideas what to write. I just need to do it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, I'm going to share with us this homework task.
Yes.
I should
Yeah.
check it one by one.
Yeah. I'll share after the session the recording probably tomorrow, and I'll send to the group chat what you need to do before the next session, and also the template for the
Okay.
intro post if you'd like to send this one.
Yeah, intro post is. I think that next week we should create this intro. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And next week maybe I'll be traveling from Tuesday till the end of the week.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Hope you have a good travel.
It will be. I also would like to, how to say, base some of my post connect with this. It will be conference in Madrid. I hope I will get visa on Monday. Yes, today I couldn't get visa. They said it's not ready yet. So, but my flight is 6 a.m. on Tuesday. But I think Monday it will work somehow. And yes, I would like, because for me the problem is when I hear or I read something interesting, or I came across somebody's idea or some company news, I can create a post and share my own thoughts. But create the post without any how to say info
Mhm.
event, I can't. this is another problem.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be working on. I understand what you said. Yeah. You can start with half the size of what I've been showing and then
Okay.
expand. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
have a good night. Talk
Thank
to you
you.
next
Thank
week.
you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
It was really interesting, useful.
Yeah. Glad to hear, Sergey.
As usual.
Yeah. Thank you, Alexandra.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.